What's happening, my fellow geeks and geekettes? Welcome to a brand new episode of Cosplay Chris's Custom Collectables, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the process of making my quarter scale diorama to go with my Neca quarter scale 1990 TMNT figures. Now, I've been umming and ahhing about what the theme of the diorama should be. A lot of people have been doing sewers for their quarter scale figures, but I want to replicate the rooftop from the end fight scene at the first film when the boys versus the Shredder. Now, I have pre-cut some of the materials here. Now, for the actual ledging around the building, we are going to be using balsa wood. Now, I have done a test in terms of scaling the bricks and what the measurements should be, so I have drawn all these in, and we're going to go in and burr these with a soldering iron to really make those deep crevices, and then of course go in and paint it later on. The top slates are balsa wood as well and have been measured out at 15 centimeters across. Now, this is just the base. I also have gone ahead and pre-drilled the backing. So the way it's going to work is it can slide on and off like so. So I will have steel pegs from these going through into the base, and I'll show you guys how I'm going to be doing that. But what I'm going to be doing is blowing up a large photo of New York, a backdrop of New York, and stick it to the back here. So it's going to be quite a dynamic base, but I also want the option, if I don't want the background, I can just take it off like so. Now, the base and the backing is MDF, so our first step is to draw in the final brick markings around the building ledging here, and then we're gonna go in and burr them with the soldering iron. I also have some $2.50 galvanized steel pieces here, which are gonna be bent into shape, cut off certain pieces and solder it together for a fire escape ladder that will be going over the back of the building ledge here. Now, I have deliberately kept the building ledge separate from the actual rim of the base, and that's because it gives you depth of field when we're gonna have the blown up photo put on the back. After that, we're gonna cut all the slab pieces. We're gonna start to detail it and stick all the pieces together. So that being said, let's get to it. Ooh, shitty commentary. So what I'm doing now is starting to bend the wire pieces into shape for the fire escape ladder. Now, originally I had this going all the way over like so, but I actually cut off the ends and had them embedded into the ledge itself because it looked too much like a swimming pool ladder, if that makes sense. And I'm just getting each individual piece and soldering them on just with regular lead solder, and the gas I'm using is propane. Now, just slot it in place like so. That was before I made the cuts at the front. You guys will see that later on, the adjustments that I've made. Now, this was the most tedious part, going in with a soldering iron, and one stroke, that's what she said, just wasn't enough. I had to go in probably twice all over to really get that embedded brick look. And I'm sealing it up just with a flat grey primer just to seal in that burnt wood, because you never know, it may affect the paint job as is. And now we're going to move on to constructing a really crude and old looking antenna with some offcuts of the wire that I used on the fire escape ladder, plus some thinner wire that I just had lying around, bent into shape, and I've angle grinded some notches in there so they would solder on with ease. Now, keep in mind, this is galvanized steel / iron, so all you need is lead solder. You don't need, special silver bearing or brazing for that matter. You can braze it if you like, but it will weaken the structure of the metal itself. And there we go. I've just used some excess aluminium pipe to slot it in place, and that will all be weathered up later on in the video. Now, what I did for the brick pattern was a lot of experimentation, but what I found, if I got a yellow, a brown, and a burnt umber, and I kind of just crudely mixed them all together a bit at a time. There was no real uniform method to achieving the color scheme of the bricks, so I'd lightly brush it over with a sponge brush, as you can see right there, and I just mix the colors in bit by bit, get a bit of brown, get a bit of burnt umber, get a bit more yellow, till I found that perfect balance of brick, because you gotta understand, brick isn't just one solid color that everyone thinks. You look at bricks and it's got, like, as you see here, browns, yellows, oranges. So that's why was just a matter of winging it until I got the desired look. And all in all, this took about 15 minutes to do, and this is just student acrylic paints, nothing special here guys, because it absorbs straight into that balsa wood because it is so porous and dry. Now to weather the bricks, it was just a matter of watering down some black student acrylic. And again, much like the original paint job, I just do little bits at a time, washes, dab off the excess, until I got that look, until the brickwork was really worn down and all in those etchings and scratches. So I was really happy with the end result. So what I'm doing now is just spraying a matte black on the base surface because we're getting ready to do our markings here for the actual asphalt and flooring of the rooftop. Now, what I'm going to be using is a paint that you guys have seen me use before on the backdrop of that big Nerf rifle that I customized about a month ago. It's got like granules in it and it comes off as asphalt. It looks like asphalt, looks like road, looks like rooftop kind of bitumen. So I'm just marking off and taping off where I want the spray paint to go and just covering all excess panels that I don't want covered with the spray paint. Now this is Duramax and it's got that texture as you can see right there. It does have it on the lid too. And I'm just evenly spraying it and look at that. It's just so cool to use. Now halfway through spraying this on, I did have some problems with it leaving the can, but finally got there in the end. This is a couple of hours later, as you can see it's nighttime, peeling off the excess. And now we're gonna go in and start to clean up the areas that I want to have a gloss black on. Now this is just lying around. I've used it on a few custom collectible bases before. So this is for the backing of the diorama. So this here is a little pipe network that I thought up at the last minute because I kind of want, you know, exhausts, kind of an exhaust kind of chimney and pipes on the rooftop diorama. So this is just some copper pipe joints and some galvanized steel pieces that I got from Bunnings. And this was again like the antenna and the fire escape ladder, just soldered together with regular lead solder and flux. Just make sure all your pieces are clean if you're going to be using this method. And I love soldering. It's from the Freddy Glove days. That's how I learned all my tricks with soldering and brazing. And then afterwards, after soldering all the joints, I went back in with the propane torch and blasted every single square inch of that pipe with heat, just so it would discolor it so it wasn't all one uniform color. Now, it's a little bit too clean for my liking. It's not gonna match the feng shui of the rooftop. So what I did is just got some matte black and a brown. Squirted it and spritzed it in random parts, and with some nitrile gloves, you just really tack it on and handle it with your hands, and it weathers it right in front of you. See how I'm just grabbing it and just, it's tacky at first. After about 10 seconds, it loses its tack and it pretty much cures and dries. And it leaves the copper looking beautifully weathered and just like it's been on a rooftop and copped the elements for years and years. And for the actual stovetop like of the chimney was just a cheap little drain plug from Bunnings, $2.50, the exact same weathering method as the pipe. And seriously, that was it, just Loctited it on top of the copper pipe chimney.
Alright geeks, whilst we are waiting for the pipes and the pipe top to dry, we're going to start printing out the Domino's pizza box. We are going to have a Domino's pizza box, quarter scale, on display on the building ledge. Now this was made by Neca Designs. A very big thank you because they've put this file up for free on Facebook. There's his logo right there. Now we have to print in 200 GSM paper, print on A4 at 100% scale, cut it out with a blade and glue it together. Now 200 GSM paper is something we don't particularly have in the household, so I had to go and buy some today. This is $12, it's canvas paper, so it actually does have a nice sort of cardboard texture and feel to it. Whilst it is a bit glossy, once the piece is glued together, we're just gonna do some very subtle weathering to it. Because I don't want it looking pristine, you know, I want like it's been handled by the boys and they're getting pizza out of it and put some grease stains on it. So yeah, now we're going to print this off and cut it out and glue this bad boy together.
Now after gluing the box together and letting it sit for about 15 minutes in the sun, we've got to start to do some subtle weathering. So this is just some matte black that has been sprayed onto the MDF there, and I'm just sporadically rubbing it over random parts of the box, mostly the corners where the boys' hands would mostly handle the Domino's pizza box. And actually looking back, I assembled this incorrectly, but I'm leaving it as is. I like the look of the box. It looks fine to me. Now I did attack it with some baby powder and some olive oil, and the olive oil actually helps it give that greasy look, like pieces of pizza have come out of the box and the grease has soaked into the cardboard. Now if you look at the asphalt, it's a bit too plain and bare basic, so what I'm doing is I'm using a sculpting tool and carving in a pattern where it be panels that have been laid down onto the rooftop flooring itself. I'm just using a spare piece of wood to guide me and do a straight line, so I did almost sort of like a brick pattern. So I really had to keep carving into the MDF until I got, you know, a really dug out trench throughout the whole rooftop. So after that, we had to go in and stain it with some more watered down black student acrylic, and then I'd soften that with some paper towel and a dry brush, and it just gives the illusion like it's recently rained and there's still moisture within the cracks of the rooftop base. Now in terms of fixing the copper pipe rig in place, I got some bolts and actually angle grinded off the excess thread, and I still managed to thread into the MDF, and I also backed it up with some Loctite. Now in terms of weathering the base joints there, it was a mixture of watered down black student acrylic and then some more matte black spray paint, just spraying it randomly and wiping away the excess, attacking it with some gloved hands, and it just really gave it a nice organic look. After that, it was then time to glue down the actual structure of the rooftop, and that was just Loctite, guys. As soon as Loctite hits balsa wood and MDF, the two just bond instantly, and I did leave it for about half an hour just so it reached maximum strength. Now, it's not a custom collectible without some driveway dirt, so I wanted some caked up dirt on the rooftop, so what I did is mix some PVA glue, some black student paint, and some dirt from the driveway, and I just rigorously rubbed it into any cracks, especially on the ledge itself, as you can see right there, around the pipe, around the backing and the corners of the rooftop. Let it dry overnight, and then I'd brush away the excess, which you will see in a minute. After it was all dry, I then attacked the whole piece with a clear gloss. So this is going to give the illusion like it's just recently rained and everything is damp and it has that nice sheen to it. Alright geeks, I had to let this set over the weekend whilst I waited for the backdrop to arrive. Now this cost me $40 from Vistaprint. I found the file online. It was a little bit blurry because it was really hard to find a nice high-res file of New York, but I actually think it's going to work in my favor because it's going to give that really nice depth of field, so it's pulled out of focus just a little bit whilst gaining focus on the boys and the diorama itself. Now I did have a lot of excess and that was on purpose, so I'm marking out and gonna cut off the excess, and I'm just using some doweling just to be a guide and have that nice bit of space around the whole area. Now I'm also marking where I want the corner to be, where I want that fold to be, and I did do an imprint. I did the fold with some bricks and some of the doweling, left it for about half an hour so I knew exactly where to stick the corner piece with the print. Now the contact adhesive we're going to be using is Sally's Quick Grip. Now this is my first time using it, but being a contact adhesive, you do have to coat both sides. That is the purpose of a contact adhesive. Wait till they get tacky and then bond them together and leave it overnight. So this stuff smelled so bad, even with a respirator on. My god, I was high as a kite doing this. So like I said, we are going to be doing the corner joint first. Tacking down the corner first makes for an easy transfer and making everything just nice and neat and the stick down a lot more easier. So after about 10 minutes till the tack dries, you can then bond both surfaces together. I left this for a couple of hours whilst I went to the gym, and then I tackled the base itself and then the side panel. So this stuff doesn't really spread that easily, to be honest. It kind of cakes up in certain areas and you do have to make it as uniform as possible. You've got to go over certain areas again, but the thing is, because of the heat, it starts to tack again and it really just makes for a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, but I got there in the end. So I did have to get Dad to help me lay down the base backing, like the main base panel, which was pretty easy, and that was just using some more doweling just to really smooth it out. Granted, there are going to be some risen areas, but you won't even notice them. And there we go. I left this overnight and it worked perfectly, and we're going to cut off the excess with a Stanley knife.
Ooh, looking good. So, the last two steps before the final reveal, we're going to get some pieces of black cardboard here and add them on the side and front of the ledging itself. Just a little bit of tidy up, and so we don't see the exposed backing of the display itself. The final step is adding an LED strip to the backing of the diorama so it illuminates from the ground up to give the illusion that there's traffic down on the street or even a neon sign. This is an LED kit I got from Bunnings Warehouse. It's $40. You guys have seen me use this thing countless times on other custom collectibles. It comes with a remote, so you have the option of different colors, whether it be blue, green, red. We even have a yellow, we've got a white, we even have a strobing effect, which could give the illusion of a neon sign on the side of the building. So that's it, guys. We're gonna Loctite these two little panels on the side, stick down the LED strip, and then it's time for the final reveal.
And there you have it, guys. Thank you so much as always for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this as I enjoyed making this. I hope you guys learned something from this, little hints, tips and tricks. I actually learned quite a lot, and I'm not gonna lie, it's because I winged it most of the time, especially when it came to trying to replicate the color pattern of bricks. That's my phone going off right there. That's badge, on your badge. But yeah, guys, I've had an absolute ball making this. This is one of my most favorite custom pieces to date. I know I say that a lot, but I like to think I'm progressing with my skills and all that, and I'm glad that you guys are here along for the ride, and I hope you guys are taking something from this. Guys, wherever you are in the world, have yourselves a cracker of a day. I'm going to be getting to work very shortly on that 3D printed Thor hammer for the next custom collectible that should be up by the end of next week, just in time for Thor Ragnarok. So with that being said, guys, hope you're well, hope you're happy, be merry, be silly, and until next time, geeks, please always remember, cosplayers do it best.